Up to this point, we've really been doing graphics where you've got a single graphic inside, right? Or maybe you've got, a split like this. Maybe, oh no, except for a heat map, right? So we're doing bar charts. Maybe that's a bad example. Let's look for category, right? So we're doing something like this with a sale. But one of the things you can do with Tableau is to actually split things up a lot more, right? So let's have a go. I've got sales here. Actually, yeah, we'll do it this way. So I'm going to duplicate sales into label just so we can have a label. And I can split this up a bit more. So we can bring in subcategory. Let's bring in segment, right? So now it splits this way. I can still add totals to this. So again, we're going to click on this analytics and then totals. So we grab totals, column, and row. My only problem with this column and row for bar is because this value becomes so high because it's the sum of everything. It makes everything else look small. So that's one thing I don't advise. So let's get rid of the grand total. Right. From here, you can again color code. So let's say I'm going to drop segment in here, right? Or I can color code by category. We just drop that in there, right? We can color code by subcategory, okay? Which you probably won't do because if they're all the same color, then what's the point? So you're probably going to more or less color like that. You can do the same thing for time series information, right? So let's go and do one like that, okay? So let's do order date. So I'm going to do the right click and drop, right? We're going to go to day. Maybe let's do month, right? So now we got month, and we're going to bring in sales. Actually, let's do something different. Let's do profit, right? So now we can see the profit. And this is basically what we've been doing up to this point. But we can actually break this up. So let's say I want to see this by segment. I can do a few things. I can grab segment and drop it into color. Now I have 3 lines. But hard to see what's actually going on, right? I can click on these and yes, it will show me that, but again, doesn't give me very much insight. So let's put them next to each other. So if I grab segment, I can put it in rows. So now they're all split that way, or I can put them in columns and now they're split that way. So I can compare them horizontally. Mainly, and that's probably the most useful because laterally or along the x-axis, they're all along the same time series anyway. Okay, so you can do that, but you can also do it again, right? So let's grab, where's region? I saw region here. If I grab region, I can put that in here. And I see this kind of graphic a lot, right? And we can actually put the value in here to see what the highest and lowest values are. So if I duplicate this sum of profit into label, right? It's going to show me all the points. I'm not interested in all the points. I just want to see the highest and lowest, right? So if I click here and I go min max, right? You can see that within each one, I can see the minimum and maximum. We can also duplicate it to show color. So if I grab this one, I can drop it in here. I can do it from here as well, right? You can duplicate anything you want, right? And we're going to make this red and green. Okay, I want the low values red. So we can see that this has dropped by quite a bit. So minus 2,189, right? And because this is money, why don't we change the format to be dollars? Okay, 2 ways I can do it. I can right click on this label. I can go format, right? Then I can go numbers, currency, and I'm probably, because the numbers are quite large, we're going to go thousands, right? So now we can see it as thousands. Now here's the problem. If I do another graphic and I use sum of profit, it won't have this formatting on it. So I'll show you an example. If I bring in profit, let's just drop it in label. It's just a number again. So it's kind of annoying that I always have to try and change the format. And what I can do is if I just undo this, let's just go back to the original, back one more, right? I can actually right click on profit, go default properties, number format, currency, display units, and I think that's it. Where's the suffix? Dollar, right? Don't need decimal places. Maybe 1, right? And go OK. That means every time I use this profit data set, it will always be a number. So if I could do a new one and I drop profit in here, it's already a dollar. So it saves you a lot of time in terms of formatting. And also if other people, when we get to this stage, are using your data sets, it will already have formatting for them. Okay. Other things I can do is instead of maybe coloring it by value, right, because we've already got the labels in there, maybe we color it by region. Okay, so if you grab region, drop it in here, then we can see it by region. So why would you want to do that? Well, if you want to simplify the view of this, you probably don't need these axes, right? Because if you're already showing the values, then why do you need the axis? So if I right click this, I go show header, get rid of that, and we don't need region, so let's get rid of that. We don't need segment, right? We only really need these headings, okay? And we know this is from 2015 to 2019, so why don't we just label this, right? I just double click on the heading, 2015 to 2019, right? Sales, okay? So I go okay, which means we also don't need this bottom part, right? And this has cleaned it up quite a lot. Okay, so we know 2015, 2019, and if we hover, we can see what date period it is anyway. But we can see that at the beginning for the consumer, we had a massive drop here, right? For central, right? This one, which is northern, and this one, which is, what is this? South or southern, right? And from here, you can start looking into maybe try and find some sort of patterns or anything that might be interesting for you to look into. Okay. The other thing you can do in terms of this kind of splitting technique is you can also do it with pie charts. So let's go ahead and do an example. Let's bring sales in here. So we got sales, right? Let's bring in segment. Now the technique I showed you was go show me and go pie chart, right? You can do it that way. The other way you can do it is if you click here on marks and go pie, right? That's the first part. You can move this one into angle, right? You can move this into color, right? And then you have your pie. I actually prefer using the show me for pies, right? And for hierarchy, some of these more kind of complicated ones, not so much complicated, but harder than a column chart, right? I would prefer to use these things. All right, so let's put in some labels. So I'm going to duplicate this into label, and we'll put the segment into label. Right, and the reason it's not showing, as you can see, is because it's a bit small. One of the things that Tableau does is if the labels overlap, it will only show one of them. So a way to get around this is if I click on here and go entire view, right? Oh, actually, no, that's not what happened. I didn't actually drop it into label. There we go, right? But I'm also going to do entire view anyway, so we can get a good look. Now, this shows the three segments, home office, corporate, and consumer. But what if I wanted to see this by region? I don't want to have to create 3 different sheets for each region, right? And I don't have to. If I grab region and I drop it into columns, I now have 3 pie charts. I can do this again. So let's say we're going to look at it by category. I can drop category into rows. So now I have all these pie charts. Okay, you can't really do this in Excel. So it's a very neat method of being able to show a lot of things very quickly. And because this is all interactive, I'll show you an example. Let's say I'm going to bring sheet 4 and sheet 6 into some sort of dashboard, right? Just get rid of this. And let's reduce the height. Okay, and I'm going to make them both filters. It lets me see a lot more. So if I'm going, all right, I'm only interested in furniture, this will filter for furniture. I'm only interested in furniture for the consumer. If I click on that, this will filter, right? But you can go the other way as well. Let's say I'm interested in art. This now shows me art. And again, it's all about the behavior you're trying to achieve, okay? And by doing these splits, you can show a lot more insights into what you're doing. And neat little trick with the hierarchies that I mentioned, you can also do this for hierarchies. Okay, so I'll show you that quickly, just as a little bonus. Let's say you've got region, and let's say you got category, right? You'll probably never do it this way. But let's say I want region and category to be a hierarchy. I can do that. I can just get rid of subcategory. Let's get region. I can drag and drop it in there, or I can go right click, hierarchy, add to the first one we had. Okay, and we want these to be in reverse. So then I can actually maximize and minimize. That's the word I was looking for before. Maximize and minimize this view as well. Again, added behavior for what you're trying to achieve. And that's it for this video. So I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.